With Halloween rapidly approaching in the next few days, and since the new installment of this franchise just came out as the recording of this video, I wanted to talk about and rank all 11 Halloween movies from worst to best in my opinion, because I have a lot to say about one of horror's biggest franchises. So let's not waste any more time and just get into it. Coming in at last place, number 11 is Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. This film is complete and utter garbage, one of the worst horror sequels, horror movies, and films in general I've ever seen. It is complete nonsense filled with dream sequences and imagery that doesn't work for the series at all, not even Rob Zombie's previous Halloween film. All this movie is dream sequences and kills. The film is so ugly and not pleasant to sit through. Every character is unlikable and despicable, and you don't root for anyone. It's just awful and is completely why this series remained dead for 9 years. Coming in at number 10 is Halloween 5: The Revenge of Michael Myers. This movie is awful. The film completely ruins the ending of Halloween 4 and doesn't do anything with it. Instead of making Jamie the next Michael, they decided to make Jamie a mute and have her and Michael psychically connected, which was a stupid idea. They also introduced a lot of crazy ideas that don't fit with the tone of the movie, which is just another slasher sequel. Even the writers admitted that the stuff with like the Man in Black that shows up in bits throughout, they didn't even know who that was and just left it to the writers of Halloween 6. The characters in this movie are so annoying. Rachel's friends are just there for a body count. Dr. Loomis is unlikable trying to get anything out of Jamie. There are two bumbling cops with goofy sound effects and music every time they come on screen. They make the Myers house a mansion, the mask looks bad, and overall is a terrible sequel. The only thing good about this movie is Daniel Harris, who easily has the best acting of the whole movie and is still likable, and there are a couple of good kills, but overall it's just really bad. Next up on the list, number 9 is Halloween Resurrection. The film is just another really bad sequel. The film undoes the ending of Halloween H2O, just like Halloween 5 did with Halloween 4. The film starts off with the worst bit of any Halloween film I've ever seen by killing off Laurie Strode, and it was the last Halloween film she was in for 16 years. And the film does get better, but not good at all. Having a bunch of bland characters and Busta Rhymes beating up Michael Myers using karate, it's just a mess. Don't watch it. It's just a mess with only a couple good moments that makes it better than the previous 2 entries on this list. Number 8 is Halloween: The Curse of Michael Myers. Now, I'm judging the theatrical cut of the film, not the producer's cut, just to make that clear. This movie is really bad. The film marks the final film in the Thorn trilogy that started with Halloween 4 and continued into Halloween 5. But both those films barely dabbled into the cult stuff. This film completely revolves itself around it. With unlikable characters that you don't care about, Paul Rudd giving his first and worst performance as Tommy Doyle, the little boy from the first Halloween film, killing off Jamie in the opening scene from the previous 2 Halloween films, and has a really confusing ending. But what this film does the worst at is ruin Michael Myers. They make him not scary by explaining his backstory. What makes Michael Myers scary is that he is the boogeyman, and we don't know much about him. So it leaves it up to your imagination. But when you make Michael Myers a pawn in a cult, it's not scary. There are a couple of positives though. The look of Michael Myers is great, and one of my favorite masks in the series, and it's menacing. Donald Pleasence is as good as Dr. Loomis still, and he does better than he was in Halloween 5, and as his final performance, he is good, and there are some good kills. But overall, I don't recommend it. Coming at number 7 is Rob Zombie's Halloween. This is a massive step up from the previous entries on this list, and this film and every film in the list upwards I recommend. This film is definitely interesting. I think that the film was an interesting experiment. Making Michael Myers a human first before a killer could be interesting, and not in the Halloween 6 way. The problem is that they make him from a white trash family, and those backstory scenes at the house are so uncomfortable because it's just raunchy and crass and doesn't fit with the tone of the rest of the film, which is quite intense. The kills in this movie are extremely brutal, but work for the most part. Malcolm McDowell does a great job as Dr. Loomis, and the backstory scenes between him and Michael are some of the best in the film. It does take a while for the film to get going, and Laurie Strode, who isn't as likable as Jamie Lee Curtis, by making her extremely horny, and when they show any sexual violence, which happens often, isn't pleasant to watch at all, but they do have great casting choices. Not only Malcolm McDowell, but Brad Dourif, yes, the voice of Chucky as the sheriff, and Daniel Harris, who was in Halloween 4 and 5, plays one of the teenage girls, is really cool fan service. Tom Holland does a good job of Michael Myers, and his mask looks really good because it's all weathered and stuff. Overall, it's a decent remake that I recommend. Coming in at number 6 is Halloween 3: Season of the Witch. Everyone knows this movie for being the black sheep of the Halloween series by not having Michael Myers in it at all, and doing an anthology-style series that could have worked very well, but the idea they had wasn't the best. Being about a mask company having chips inside their masks, and when a TV program is televised, the mask created bugs and snakes that come out of the people's heads who wear the mask could be a really good horror film, but the execution isn't the greatest. It is a decent in an 80s midnight movie kind of way. I like the fact that the hero isn't a strong muscular man, but a divorced drunk who has to come around and try to save the day is something that you don't see too often. The music is really good, apart from the jingle that will be forever stuck in my head.
Happy, happy Halloween, 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 happy, happy Halloween, Silver Shamrock.
The villain is menacing, there are a few good kills, and has one of my favorite endings of the film of all time, and I won't ruin it. but does have some problems in that some effects don't hold up, a lot of ideas are too silly, like the villain steals rocks from Stonehenge, and not many characters are likable, but overall I recommend it. Number 5 is Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. This was a good return to the series since the film came out on the original Halloween's 10th anniversary, and it's a fun slasher sequel with likable characters that you root for, good kills, a good score, and a great ending. The film introduces Jamie, the daughter of Laurie Strode, who is really likable, and her sister Rachel, who is also likable, and you root for both of the characters to survive. The side characters also have personalities that make them feel like people, especially the sheriff. Dr. Loomis is back, and his screen presence is really good. The things that hold this film back from being higher up on the list is a few things. Michael Myers' mask is really bad, one of the worst in the series, and there was a shot where the filmmakers break continuity and his mask is blonde for some reason. A few kills make no sense, like the one where he kills the girl by stabbing her with a shotgun, and how they kill Michael is really lazy. In Halloween 5 they fixed it, which is one of the few positives of that film. Also, they don't explain how Dr. Loomis survived the explosion at the end of Halloween 2, but overall, it's a really fun slasher sequel that I recommend. Number 4 is Halloween H2O 20 years later. This is the second anniversary film in the series between Halloween 4 and Halloween 2018. This is a really good anniversary film that I really enjoyed. The film ignores every Halloween film before it besides Halloween 2, and it works. Jamie Lee Curtis is great. The idea of her still having night terrors of the night that happened 20 years ago created some of the best scenes in the film. Josh Hartnett as her son is really good. LL Cool J has a fun supporting role, and overall it's a blast to sit through. The film is contained in a private school like the original in the neighborhood, and it works. The third act is great and caps off with a fantastic ending that should have ended the series. There are some problems that hold this film back. Even though it's good, it's not as good as it should be. The first is Michael Myers has 3 different masks and they don't work. It takes a while for the film to get going and the kills aren't that good. There should have been more characterization for the side characters, especially Laurie Strode's boyfriend, but overall it's a good movie. Number 3 is Halloween 2018. This is the newest installment in the series and one of the best. This is another anniversary film starring Jamie Lee Curtis. It takes a different approach from Halloween H2O in that she becomes super tough because she's prepared for Michael to escape for 40 years. The action is great, Michael Myers is once again scary, the kills are simple yet effective. The acting is really good for Jamie Lee Curtis as a broken woman who is given the ultimate test that she has been preparing ever since 1978. Judy Greer does a good job as the daughter who is bitter at her mom. Will Patton does a good job as a sheriff who has a history of the original night. The little kid that gets babysat has the best comedy, and some shots are really effective, especially the big tracking shot that has been shown in all the trailers. And the third act is intense and satisfying. The big things that hold this film back from reaching its full potential is that it focuses way too much on Laurie Strode's granddaughter and her friends, and that takes away from the story that we want to see. There is not enough Jamie Lee Curtis, and the whole film should have been about her. There's too much comedy that deviates from the horror minus the little kid. And there is a moment that happens in the beginning of the third act, which is so bizarre and stupid that it took me out of the film for a few minutes, but overall, it's a really good movie. Number 2 is Halloween 2. This is my favorite sequel in the series. The film makes a decision to set this movie right after the events of the first film, and it makes a really good double feature. The kills are really good and some of the best in the series. The music is great, there are a lot of good shots, and they're really effective. It captures the atmosphere of the original better than any other film in the series, and the ending is great and a really good end to the story. The things that hold this film back is that it sets up a bunch of things that don't pay off, like the medic that isn't a Laurie Strode that dies randomly. Some characters make stupid decisions, there are some false jump scares that ruin the tension of some scenes, a lot of characters that are just there for a kill count, and it can be unfocused at points, but it's a really good movie and a sequel. But coming in at number 1, of course, is the original 1978 Halloween. The film is one of the best horror films and films of all time. John Carpenter created such a simple yet effective film, with great atmosphere, characters, music, shots, and an overall film that will stick with you. Jamie Lee Curtis and Donald Pleasence give great performances as characters that would later be the roles they are most known for. Michael Myers is terrifying, and overall is a fantastic film that is a must-watch if you're a film fan or a horror fan. So that is my list. If you want more ranking videos, please click the like button and subscribe. Also, comment down below if you want to request any series you want me to rank, and I will do them. Also, rank what you think about the Halloween series down below. This is Comic Book Movie Fan Productions, and I'll see you later.